All right, welcome back, everyone. Our sports correspondent, Jim Mancari, is joining us. I don't know what it would have taken to get you out of the field and on this set, but I know it's a story that's very near and dear to the hearts of Brooklyn baseball fans, so I'm happy for this story. Thank you for joining us, Jim. Tell us a little bit about why you are here.
Absolutely. Well, yesterday at baseball's annual winter meetings, Brooklyn Dodgers legend Gil Hodges. You know, we all love Gil.
Yes.
He was up for vote again on the Hall of Fame ballot, this time from the Golden Era Committee. So, actually though, it didn't really go well for Gil, as he was in the category of having received 3 or fewer votes. You know, they went through during a press conference. Some players had received 8, 9, 7, and then the final category was Gil Hodges included in the 3 or fewer. We don't even know how many votes he received, and that was a total shock to me. You know, I had been following this story now all year with the excitement revving up, you know, talking to fans, thinking that this could finally be the year that Gil Hodges gets enshrined, going to a few events, even signing a petition that we sent to the Hall of Fame to say, you know, this guy, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown. But yeah, it really did not go well for Gil, and which I personally thought this could have been the year too, just from hearing all these different stories this year.
I remember we did a number of interviews over the summer. You joined us on set and you talked about it a lot. And I guess at this point we need to understand, what are the qualifications? Like, why do you think, based on the qualifications, that he wasn't enshrined?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with, you know, there's a specific criteria that these Hall of Fame committees look for when they judge a player. Absolutely. So, you know, obviously they're looking at the player's statistics throughout his career, his playing ability, of course, and then contributions to the game. But there is an important value placed upon integrity, character, and sportsmanship.
Okay.
And that's where, you know, that final category, that's really where I felt Gil had a chance, because you hear all these stories about how he just respected the game and it was just his sportsmanship. You know, you never heard a bad thing about Gil Hodges. So that's where I thought he had a chance. So then in looking at it, you know, he has this whole backstory of this great character, but we also have to look at his contributions and his acumen as a player. 7-time World Series appearances, 8-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover, 7 consecutive 100 RBI seasons, 370 career home runs, which at the time when he retired, that was the highest total of any right-handed hitter in the history of the National League. So, I mean, what do these Hall of Famers want?
I'm listening to this, and I'm listening to you list all this wonderful criteria. He's just like the fairy tale story of how this should have ended with him being enshrined. Again, you have followed this closely. You've spoken to family members. You've done a lot of research on this. From your perspective, why do you think he keeps getting left out?
Liz, that is a very, very difficult question to answer. To be honest, I don't even know if I have a concrete answer for you. But, you know, I'll take a stab at maybe a guess, is because potentially his name was just lost in the baseball lore over the years. You know, we know the story of 1972. It was Easter Sunday. Gil was out in spring training golfing with some of his Mets coaches when he was the manager of the Miracle Mets, of course, and he suffered a heart attack and passed away right there. And you know, he was in the prime of his managerial career at that point. Just 2 seasons earlier, he led the Miracle Mets, you know, a team of, you know, in the years before that, hapless misfits, to a World Series title. So, you know, he could have had a whole decade, let's say, of still being the Mets manager. And who knows, maybe even another World Series title thrown in there. His name would have just still been in the public sphere.
It would have still been relevant.
And maybe his achievements and accomplishments as a player would have been more appreciated because his name was constantly in the cycle as a manager. Or on the flip side, you know, a couple of good years as a manager, he could have been inducted as a manager too. But, you know, let me just point out an important fact in all this. The Brooklyn Dodgers, of course, of the 1950s. You know, we hear a lot about those great teams. You know, they always lost to the Yankees all those years, but they were always in the World Series, you know, 7 times during that span. the core of that team, which, you know, is made up of icons like, you could probably list them, Liz, Jackie Robinson, Duke Snider, Roy Campanella,
Oh, yes.
Pee Wee Reese.
Even I know these names. Absolutely.
All these players.
The stuff of legends.
All these players have plaques
Yeah.
in Cooperstown, but no Hodges. And like, to me, it's just really a mystery. He was just as important a player on those teams as those other four I just mentioned.
Really quickly, Jim, before we wrap up, where do we go from here?
Well, you know, again, those results from that vote, you know, they don't look so good moving forward. And the next time that Gil will be up for election is 2017.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll have to wait a little bit. Now, you know, I could only imagine what the family and, of course, Gil's widow, Joan, are going through right now because, you know, again, we thought this could have been the year, but, you know, in their perspective, they thought every year could have been the year that he was eligible. So, you know, maybe someday they'll see a plaque of Gil Hodges in Cooperstown, but, you know, at least for now, they've waited this long already. So what's another 3 years?
What's another 3 years? You have been following this closely. I know you're going to stay on top of it for us.